My topic of discussion this morning, oh, good morning, everyone, first of all, and thank you for being here to hear me. My topic of discussion this morning is on preserving the art of poetry or the art of pottery making through the community engagement at Larnai, Meghalaya. I am from the Department of Language Education, English Language Education, and I am not from archaeology. I am not from ceramics. I do not have any of this background. But just a word of what I would like to say is that I am not really here on behalf of the potters. My encounter with them was by chance. And I got interested in how these potters were preserving the art and how I can be engaged in the promotion of the art with them. And then these visits to this village commenced before the pandemic happened. It is a few months or about almost a year before the pandemic happened. And this presentation that I'm going to make is not based on any scientific research. It is not based on any theory, but it is based on mere observation on what's going on in the village, in my discussions with people who have been involved with the village, and people who have been personally been staying with them and trying to help them preserve this art. My first 7 slides is, I'm going to run through the first 7 slides very quickly because they are mere background information about Larnai before I actually come into the community engagement aspect. Some of the highlights of my presentation will be this: the practice of pottery in Larnai, the efforts of engaging community of potters in the preservation of craft, the slow progress in getting an organized community to preserve the craft. And then, of course, I do look forward and I would really appreciate inputs from the audience on community engagement. So we're looking at Larnai. It is in the West Jaintia Hills. So the Meghalaya is divided into the Garo Hills, the Khasi Hills, and the Jaintia Hills. So this is in the far east of Meghalaya, but then it's the district in which Larnai is located is in the West Jaintia Hills. It is about 48 kilometers away from Shillong. The Sung Valley, 10 kilometers, I will come to that. It has a population of around 1,300 people and who are living in about 175 households. And the number of potters out of this 1,300 number of population is around 20 to 25. Now, if I could take you to point number 3, all right, or point number 1, okay. See, Larnai has been known for the art of pottery from time immemorial. And I say time immemorial because, as we discussed with the elders of this village, they cannot remember when it started, but they said it has been handed over to them for generations. And today, the art still continues. Now, scholars have done some research on this work, and they have said that the reason for pottery in this area was basically to supplement the incomes. There are 2 occupations in this village. One is agriculture and the other is pottery. So pottery actually happens, the making of pots actually happened mainly in the winters. And I suppose in a lot of northeastern areas this happens, mainly in the winters because that's a dry season. Of course, it's a seasonal activity, but when they get the time, they do kind of make pots based on orders. The fourth point here is the significance of the Sung Valley. Okay, it's pronounced as Sung. The valley, which is located in the West Jaintia Hills, this valley actually divides the East Khasi Hills and the West Jaintia Hills. Okay, this historian, Maurung is a historian. She's presently teaching in the Northeastern University. She says in her research done in 1999, she says that this art emerged because of the presence of the Sung Valley. Now, the Sung Valley looks something like that. Okay, it's quite big. It's called the bowl rice of the Giant Hills. That's what it's called. And they are able to extract they are able to extract the black clay from this valley. The black clay for the for making the pots. This is again to remind you, it's about 10 kilometers away from the village. Now, there are very few villages who kind of extract clay, and till today, I am told by the villagers that there are only 2 more villages that are extracting clay from this Sung Valley. It is Larnai for one, and another village which is about 7 kilometers away from Larnai, which is called Terchang. So these are the 2 villages that are extracting clay from this valley. Here is I will tell you the significance. Just make an observation of how this pot is made, and Professor Kumar before that had actually indicated that this is done handmade in most of the northeastern states. So I just managed to capture this video. I was captivated by this elderly woman who was making this pot. All right. So look at it. There's no potter's wheel. Okay, it's just the skill that is being, the skills of the hands and the traditional knowledge that's being used here. So what this elderly woman is saying is she's talking about how this knowledge of making the pots is coming to her. She's talking the local dialect. And she said that it was her great-grandmother who taught her grandmother, who eventually taught her mother, and her mother taught her. And now she has a daughter, and she has a granddaughter that the skill is being handed over to. Okay, these are the pots that are being handmade. If you look at the texture of the pots, they're quite rustic. All right, there's no refinement of the pots, and you will see this in the later discussion as to why I'm showing you all of this. Now, let's begin with this discussion here in terms of community engagement. The 20 to 25 potters that are practicing in the village of Larnai are women. They're all women. When I asked them if there are men who are into this craft, they actually said, yeah, there are men. But so far, I have not seen, over the years, that 2-3 years that I've visited this village, I have seen no men who have been involved in the art of pottery making. Now, these women, they come along, they belong to 3 clan lines. Number one is, you see the one in the darker green, which is the Proto clan. The second one is the Shut Up clan, and the Lamari clan, which is in the peach box, the peach colored box. Now, these are the 3 clans. Now, let's see. Let's move on to the next slide, and let me explain this slide. In 1983, a women's potters organization was formed. And that women's potters organization was called the Senkanthai Prato Pottery Organization. Now, the women's organization has taken, there's some background noise. Okay, the women's organization has taken the name of only one clan, if you observe it in the slide. Okay, in that green slide, in the green portion, you will see Prato. If you go back to the previous slide, Prato is the name of a clan. And now, if you look at Prato, all right, the box below it, which has Prato, and the next to it has Shut Up. Okay, now below Prato, I have 3 generations. The elderly lady that you saw in the video, plus her daughter, who is not in the video, she was on the side, and her granddaughter was there. So these are the actually 3 out of the 4 that I mentioned here. 3 of these are very active. The 2 belong to the elderly generation. One, they have only 1 daughter and 1 granddaughter. So 3 of them are very active in pottery making, and all 3 belong only to the Prato clan. Now, when you look at the Shut Up clan, all right, below the Shut Up clan, I have the word voluntary. I have the word voluntary. Now, what does this mean? It simply means that all the women potters who belong to this organization are only from the Perto clan. The Shut Up clan would come in to help them voluntarily, or if they're invited to help them during the peak season. So out of the 25 potters in the village, a handful of them are from the Perto clan, and the others are mainly from the Shut Up clan. In the previous slide, I have also mentioned the word Lamare, the clan Lamare, but apparently I'm told that there are no more potters from this clan in the village. This is what I'm being told by the villagers. So now let me go on to the next slide. Okay. Now, this slide that I presented, okay, what I'm trying to indicate here is the beginning of the fragmentation that's happening in the community. Now, if we look at this slide, it's a very, very simple slide, but then it is a significant slide because it is apparent that these women potters are not being able to kind of produce pots or to organize themselves into a kind of a sector, into a kind of a small scale industry where they can actually boost their incomes or even work towards a promising future for the preservation of this art. So now we have the government that comes in. All right. So government says, okay, we have this village and it needs our help. All right. So we will give them workshops. So they engage other NGOs to come in to conduct workshops in the name of the government. They come and conduct the workshops and they leave. The government comes in, okay, so now we will give you some equipment for your craft. So they bring in electric potter's wheel. So they bring in the wheel for them to use. Okay, so that's what the government does. They come in, they give them this trainings, they give them the equipment, and they leave. We have other NGOs and other institutions who come in and they also give workshops. Okay, and they come up with a prescriptive approach, telling the Larnai people as to this is the module you should follow. This is what we're teaching you. Follow this, follow that. Okay, so they in many ways it's more of a top-down approach that is being used here. Now at the grassroots, now there's another level of intervention. Now at the grassroots, what's happening? We have individuals and groups who do not belong to government and who do not belong to said NGOs, to registered NGOs as such. Okay, so what's happening here? So I'm going to give it if you look at the first column here, you have handicraft, you have potter's wheel, and you have electric kilns. This is, excuse me. Now, this is the work of one individual. All right, this is the work of one individual, and he is a postgraduate, okay, who specializes in ceramics and glass design. So he has come to the village. He's from a different district altogether, from a different part of the Meghalaya, far in the Meghalaya, but he's traveled to this village because of his specialization, and he has been spending time with the villagers at the grassroots, teaching the Purtu family and anyone else who's interested the process of making this handicraft. Teaching them in the sense that he was not trying to tell them what to do, but he was giving them, upgrading their skills in terms of refining their ways of making the craft. All right. So earlier I had told you that that the government has come in and they've given him the potter's wheel, and they've left. Now there was a problem there. They have given him number one is they've given him a potter's wheel. If you looked at the video that I showed you earlier of the elderly woman, they are not accustomed to using the potter's wheel. And they have said, we do not know how to use them, but the government has given to them, so we've kept them in that room. The other thing about the potter's wheel is that these are the electric potter's wheel. The village does not get enough voltage to run these potter's wheel. So the government has given them equipment, have upgraded the skill, but then it has not really helped the potters. Now, electric kilns are not being introduced yet, but this postgraduate student says that electric kilns can be introduced. Again, we'll have the problem with electricity, but there is a greater problem. The greater problem is, where do they place electric kilns? Who will use it? Will it be only the Proto family, or will it be the Sharaf family? So there is a kind of an internal conflict. I will come back to the internal conflict. If you look at the second column, this is where I think I come in, okay, with a group of friends, where we've gone to the village and we've visited them, and we have done nothing with them. Now, I do not mean to sound negative in that sense. It's not a negative connotation. But by doing nothing, it simply means that we've been sitting down with them and just hearing them out. Just hearing them out about the stories they have to tell, about the craft, about, trying to understand where they're coming from, trying to understand if they have this desire to preserve the art, if trying to understand what is the income level from the art. Of course, we place a few orders, which if I place an order this month, I probably will get it in sometime in November. All right. So it's just spending time with them, and it's just rapport building with them. It's a lot of talking all the time. Okay. And now the result of this talking is they're beginning to find some level of interest in terms of getting organized. The reason why I'm saying that is this, because the pots, okay, now let's come to the terminology of the pots. Okay, the pots are actually called kchu, K-C-H-U. But now the villagers are actually saying, they have actually asked this question: can we rename the pot from kchu to khyao? Now, the nomenclature to me is not so important, but I'm simply reading into what is behind the fact that they are asking me that question, or asking us that question, to say, can we change the name? To me, I think there is a level of interest now that they want to reclaim the glories of the past. They want to rework. They want to get organized again, and they want to say, yeah, this is ours. It's from our village, and this is where we want to. It can help us market the products. It can help us tell the world that these are from our village. And for me, it's that claim that they have now. All right. So to understand the culture, to understand their goals, to understand the desires to preserve the art, is one way of sitting down with them and saying, okay, if we can get organized. It's going to take a longer time. Many have come and gone, and they said, no, this is a failure. I don't know, maybe this will help. All right. And the other part where people from individual groups have come there, and those who know them over the years have called them, say, can you make these pots for us? Now, if you look at the pots, they're all very rustic, but people still order them because I think, to each his own. Everybody probably loves that rustic look, and people place their orders. Okay, they come in season. It's a seasonal.
Dr. Fabian, can you summarize?
Yeah, I'm almost done. Okay, so what's holding them back is this. You look at government. They come, but they do not give you a support system. There is no follow-up. You look at NGOs. They come. There's no follow-up. And there is migration of the potters from rural to urban. They come to Shillong for better income and education. And the teachers from there have actually said education has become a hindrance to the art, because once they finish the undergraduation and once they finish the post-graduation, they do not want to come back to the village for this art. And I have two more slides. What's holding them back is, we've already discussed that. And to summarize, this is my last slide. Is there a way forward? Yes, because they've asked me that question. Kchu Larnai or Khyao Larnai? Is there a way forward? Yes, because they are willing for this continued interaction and rapport building. They are willing, I've spoken to them about this, they're willing to bring in potters into discussions, active NGOs, researchers, intellectuals, not everybody together, but this will require a lot of planning. Researchers, intellectuals, people from government departments, and people from industry. They're willing to start interacting. Okay, so training and follow-up is needed. Branding and marketing is what we're trying to do now. And another part of research is the documentation of the jargon that they use by the potters. They were very, very interested in this, and maybe publish these jargons in the form of a booklet of a book to give them that sense of ownership and to give them that sense of belonging again to the village that was once known for its pottery making. I hope I didn't rush. And with that, thank you for listening to me. And yes, I conclude my presentation.